Alrighty, bro. Here we are. That's right. It's time for some football. CSFL, the Canadian Simulation Football League, brings you the playoff recap. Look at the long title on that one. I got the Demons with me. Demons, man, number one, congratulations on moving on to the semifinals. And secondly, thanks for making the time to be here, man, like always.
No problem. We're back after a week off, ready to talk some football.
Let's get right into it. Holy smokes. What a weekend. Obviously, we'll get right into the first matchup of the Saturday. We had all the games on Saturday and Friday. We had the Rookie Bowl. We won't really get into the Rookie Bowl too much, but if you get a chance, go check out the Rookie Bowl. It was broadcasted on Friday. Um, those are all the upcoming rookies in season 4 coming up after the championship game. But first of all, the quarterfinals was the first seed versus the eighth seed. These 10-1 Piranhas hosting a game going against these 4-7 Cobras. Man, honestly, the Piranhas are one of the best team, if not the best team, and the Cobras went blow for blow with them. Super proud of these Cobras, how well they played. I believe they took the lead. I want to say twice in the second half or in the fourth quarter, or in the second half for sure. And I was really starting to root for these Cobras, man. I could not believe how well they were playing, scoring 37 points, which is way above their season average. They really brought it, and super proud of these Cobras. Really, they had a chance right there at the end, and that's all you could really ask for going against these Piranhas. Piranhas, once again, though, scoring 17 points in the fourth quarter. Kind of did it a little bit different than they usually do, in my opinion. It's Alonzo Graham takes over the first half, and then they kind of run it out with Willie Burnside in the second half. But it was a little bit opposite this time. Looked like Willie Burnside got off to a crazy fast start, and the Cobras just couldn't come back from it. Demons, what was your take on this absolute thriller of a performance from the eighth seed, almost taking out the first seed?
Well, anytime you got a team that's giving the Piranhas a run for their money, they're making new fans. These Cobras were battling, and yeah, late in this game, they almost had it. They were there. They had a chance they had a chance near the end. They had the ball. Piranha's defense comes up with an interception like they've been doing all year. Their defense is coming up with great timely turnovers, and they sealed the deal in this one. But yeah, you got to give your hats off to the Cobras. They played a great game, and they for the 4-17 going against the 10-1 Titan here that is known as the Piranhas, they did great. They tried out a new playbook, Minnesota, Minnesota. Meanwhile, the Piranhas, they stuck with their usual West Coast cover 2 combo. And the Piranhas were setting the tone early, like you were saying, Johnny. Their defense was playing hard, forcing 3-and-outs, and Burnside had 2 long TD runs in the first quarter. There's 76-yard touchdown and an 82-yard touchdown. He's got a full day of work in the first quarter alone. He's at almost at 160 yards, and he's got 2 TDs. He's done for the day. And meanwhile, the Cobras, yeah, they're being held to field goals by the Piranhas D in the first half. And it was midway through the second where the Cobras D forces a punt, and that's what wakes their offense up. Because the Cobras D is the driving force of this team. Despite the score being 44-37, the Cobras still had the top D in the league here. And it's every time their D made a play in this one, their offense responded. So in this case, Cobras D forces a punt midway through the second, and their offense responds with a TD drive, made it 14-13. It ended up being 21-16 at halftime. In the second half, Cobras D forces a punt again, and their offense responds. Charles Hackett this time, 80-yard touchdown run, and he was out there to try to show that he's up there with the top running backs in the league. We haven't been talking about him as much in the last few weeks of this season, but Charles Hackett had himself a day in this one. He actually ran for more yards than Willie Burnside,
Wow.
despite those 2 long runs by Burnside. After that Hackett touchdown, it almost went into shootout territory. The teams are trading touchdowns. There was another 85-yard TD run in that mix where Hackett ended up actually using a ref as an extra blocker, and the Cobras took the lead like
Yeah.
you were saying, there was back and forth lead changes. The Cobras took the lead 37-34 with 2:22 left. And
Wow.
then the Piranhas get the ball, 5-play drive. Andre Watson gets a touchdown with 125 remaining, and the Piranhas don't look back. Ronnie Miller capped the game with the INT. But the Cobras, yeah, they got the ball back late, had that chance, just couldn't pull it off. Clearly, Burnsides was ready for the playoffs, though. I mean, this guy is a highlight reel. Every time he touches the football, 178 yards after the first hit on the day. He finishes with 225 yards and 2 touchdowns. Charles Hackett, 257 yards, 2 touchdowns. Great game by him as well.
Wow, unbelievable, eh? So proud of the Cobras. I know that we could talk about the Piranhas for hours, but I got to give a little bit of love to these Cobras. And so impressed by, like you said, Charles Hackett, man, having a better day than Willie Burnside. When he took off the one time, I was like, wow, he's bringing it. And then he took off the second time, and I was like, holy crap, he's really showing up today. Like, wow, he wants to prove he's sick and tired. I'm pretty sure you heard it on the commentary. He's sick and tired of getting compared to Willie Burnside probably all week in practice. But yeah, Cobras, man, scoring offensively, doing really well. So proud of those Cobras, man, really bringing the heat. And the Piranhas, though, just so consistent. 44 points, man. That is just, they're just rolling those Piranhas. And like you said, the big interception. Talk about interceptions. What about Aaron Sellers? He had 6 on the season, which led the league, and now he has 7. He got his 7th one in the playoffs there. Alonzo Graham was backing up, and when he threw it and Aaron Sellers jumped and got it, I was just like, wow. That was definitely a play that you don't see too often from the Piranhas, so that was pretty cool. We'll take a look real quick here at these Piranhas and Cobras matchup. The Piranhas move on and end up being 11-1, and the Cobras finish with a 4-8 record. 5-game winning streak now for these Piranhas going into the semifinals. Is there anything that you wanted to mention about this game? Any last mentions? Obviously the Cobras played phenomenally offensively, but the Cobras played amazing offensively. But these Piranhas, man, there's just not enough good things you could say about them. One last thing you could say about these Piranhas before we move on?
Oh, I actually want to point out the Cobras here because they end up playing a 12th game, adding some yardage to their defensive total, and they're still the first place defense. Uh, Now, some of their points per game left a lot to be desired, but they put up 37 in this one, and with the ball, they had the ball late. They could have ended up putting 44 and sending it to overtime. But yeah, that seems to be what it's going to take to beat the Piranhas. You got to put up 44 and maybe 51. I mean, the last 2 losses, the teams have had to score 51.
Yeah.
But that 11 turnover differential plus 11 is just ridiculous, and
Yeah.
teams have to be clean to beat these guys.
So true. And to the Cobras' point, that look, yeah, they're the 12th, last place for points per game, 25, but they were able to put up 37. Really, their offense really came through for them, but their defense just could not stop them, which I wouldn't feel bad about. No one to stop them. And to the Piranhas' credit, yeah, they're just, you have to play clean, and they had 16 sacks and 16 interceptions on the season, which was first in both categories. And you can take a look at that in the individual player stats and the team stats video that was released earlier this week. But let's move on to the next game. The next game, here it is. The battle of the 2 new teams. Which one's better? Which one's stronger? Which one can come through? And the Demons got bullied by the Scorpions in the preseason. And then they had a good matchup against them in the regular season but lost. And now coming through, what a dramatic game right at the end. I really thought that the Scorpions and Jackie Wilson right at the end were going to sneak it away. Oh man, but the Demons hold on. What an incredible performance. I want to go out on the record while everyone's listening. Everyone at home, I think Eric Watson had the best quarterback performance by any quarterback in CSFL history. Maybe not the most touchdowns, maybe not the most yards, but I'm going to say he had the greatest single quarterback performance in CSFL history yesterday in this matchup here in his first ever, in the Demons' first ever franchise playoff game. Scorpions, man, they did everything right, but the Demons are just so explosive and they come away with the win. And Demons, I can imagine you're smiling over there from ear to ear. Love to hear your thoughts on this game and how this all went down and the storyline. What is the storyline of this game?
The storyline of this game, yeah, Eric Watson's unstoppable performance. I think he only threw 2 incompletions on the day. I could watch the Scorpions and Demons. Those last 2 matchups that these 2 teams played, I just get them to play each other all season, Johnny. I mean, these games are awesome, and the Scorpions may have lost this one, but again, yeah, you're talking they're inches from winning at the with a play at the end of the game at the back of the end zone. It's just out of bounds. Scorpions bring it every time these 2 teams play. The Demons, the last couple times they played, the Demons have brought it. I think it's a new rivalry. We've got the two new teams. They played each other 3 times. They now have a playoff game under their belt. This rivalry is born. It's on now, and it's been some great games to watch. And I gotta say, to start this game off, though, the Scorpions were in control of this one. It looked like it was going to be the Scorpions style of game. They were at home. They were playing their style. They jumped out to an early 10-0 lead with a Tiki Carter touchdown and a field goal. And their defense was limiting the Demons early. They were not allowing a lot of space for the Demons to make plays. They were stuffing the run, and their offense was moving the ball effectively. It wasn't until the 2-minute warning that the Demons got on the scoreboard. So you got 38 points scored in the second quarter. Well, a lot of that was after the 2-minute warning because it was 10-7 at the 2-minute warning on a Lamar Lester touchdown. And the Demons were giving the Scorpions a large dose of Lamar Lester in this game, which helped set up Eric Watson's day. Right after that touchdown, Jackie Wilson gets another kick return TD, which I think you got to check your record books on that for kick return TDs in a season because Jackie Wilson's been phenomenal this year on that. The Scorpions were able to maintain a 2-score lead, responding to the Demons' strikes fairly consistently in this one. And that was the Demons didn't break it down until late. Right after that Jackie Wilson touchdown, Shane Antwine gets a 70-yard TD on a slant up, then corner, breaking the ankles of the coverage. Watson throws a dart to him, and it's a 79-yard catch and run. Shane Antwine gets his name into the stat sheet, and he had a big day in this one as well. Right after that, though, now we got Tiki Carter. This is all before halftime. Tiki Carter runs his way to his second TD of the game, ends up burning Marquise Dexter at the goal line with a beautiful deke. And the Demons end up getting a field goal after that. We're looking at a 24-17 game at halftime. And again, here right at the start of the second half, Scorpions regain their 10-point lead on the 7-play, 65-yard drive. Very efficient. Killing some clock, taking a 2-score lead. And then on the ensuing drive, though, the Demons' quick strike offense, they respond to that long drive by the Scorpions with an 80-yard touchdown to Antwine off play action right off the bat. And it's those types of plays that the Demons run that I find are backbreakers for the other team. The other team works and works and works, ends up getting a field goal. Demons get a touchdown strike in one play, and they seem to be one of the better teams at doing that in this league.
So true.
On the next drive, yeah, I would argue that they're only next to the Piranhas on their ability to get a one-play touchdown drive.
So true.
On the next drive, the Scorpions get a nice. They're driving, another efficient drive. Had a nice catch by Bob All Business Klein. I had to name him up in there. He's having a great year, and he made a great catch in traffic to set up a red zone possession for the Scorpions. But Seymour makes the first mistake on offense for the Scorpions in this one. He ends up forcing a throw down near the goal line. Marquise Dexter redeems himself after getting torched by Tiki Carter earlier. He ends up getting the pick, and the Demons end up running Lamar Lester at the Scorpions on the ensuing drive. They just keep running them. Lester, Lester, Lester. Until Eric Watson throws his first pass of the drive right by the goal line. It's a TD to their tight end, Lennox Taylor, and the Demons take their first lead of the game with 2 minutes and 6 seconds remaining.
Wow.
Seymour gets his redemption, throws a ridiculous throw to Josh Buchanan, 51-yard touchdown. Seymour places this ball. It's a 51-yard TD, but it's at the back of the end zone, so it's like almost 60 yards downfield. He just places it there, and Buchanan's double covered. But he just goes and gets it with the two defenders in the area, and he comes down with it. 34-31 Scorpions.
What a catch.
Watson goes, what a catch. Phenomenal catch. Just made space for himself and went and got that football. It was a big-time catch by a big-time player. And Watson went to work after that, had a 9-play, 80-yard drive, capped it off with a Lamar Ball score with 14 seconds left. And I think you said it when after that touchdown was scored, because they panned to the Demons bench, and the Demons were celebrating like they'd won already.
Yeah.
And you think with 14 seconds left, you might have it in the bag, but it's never over in the CSFL. The Scorpions ran 3 plays in those 14 seconds, including a huge catch by Jackie Wilson deep in Demons territory. Jackie Wilson is a demon slayer, this guy. Every time these two teams play, Jackie Wilson ends up with a huge game, and he makes huge plays, clutch plays. He almost got the TD to win the game at the back of the end zone. Unfortunately, he couldn't keep his feet in bounds. But the final play of this drive, I'm sure the Scorpions owner was shaking his head at the decision by Seymour on this one. I don't necessarily disagree with the underneath throw. I just disagree when he threw it, because the receiver was in the middle of the field. There was traffic all around him. He had no chance of getting into the end zone. Maybe if you let him run his route a little further and separate a little bit, he could get to the outside and hit the corner of the end zone. Seymour set his receiver up for failure on that one, and that cost the Scorpions the game on the last play. But like you were saying, Johnny, Eric Watson, he is the leader on this team, and he is the reason a lot of the other players get the stats they do. 373 yards, 4 touchdowns on the day.
Wow.
Shane Antwine was the main recipient of that. 8 catches, 218 yards, and 2 touchdowns. These two just work so well together. They're going to need another big day to beat the Piranhas next week. But
Wow.
Scorpions offense on their own end. Tiki Carter, 100-yard game, 106 yards, 2 touchdowns. Buchanan, 5 receptions, 170 yards, and a touchdown. This was This ended up being a shootout between these two teams. The Scorpions just came up a little short.
Yeah, wow, what a game, man. But this was my favorite game of the week, believe it or not. It was so exciting. I had no idea which way it was going to go. I knew that the Demons had the juice, but like you said, the Scorpions had full control. But something about these Scorpions, because we're going to talk about the Demons, I'm sure, a lot more in this next coming week and next week as well. I'm going to give a little love to these Scorpions, but the thing about these Scorpions is that they're so, driven with the heavy run with the conservative passing, or the heavy run with the play action big pass over top to Buchanan or Jackie Wilson. It's how they're built. So when they need to rely on Anquan Seymour, it seems that he hasn't been able to come through for them. He threw an interception in the end zone. I believe it was against the Wildcats in the regular season, and then he did it again a few games back, but they still won. Something about Anquan Seymour when he isn't. I don't want to say he's not clutch, but he isn't able to line up there and throw it every play. He has to kind of work off the run. And the run was, even though he did get 100 yards, I believe, Tiki Carter, and 2 touchdowns, a lot of that was early in the game, and the Demons really shut that down in the second half. But yeah, these Demons, man, super impressed with them, and their quarterback is just showing that he is the best quarterback, arguably the best quarterback in the league. He had the most passing yards in the regular season, and was tied for the most touchdowns, I believe, or just under. Had 30 touchdowns. I know that for sure. Um, but yeah, can't say enough great things about these demons. Go take a look at their thing here. They win.
Oh, it's an interesting stat about Anquan Seymour, though,
Yeah.
because there was a point in the season where we noted that he was perfect. Like, he was basically playing clean football, allowing the offense to run efficiently, let Tiki Carter do his thing, let the defense stuff people because they have one of the top defenses, and he hadn't thrown an interception yet.
Right.
And this was deep into the season. Since that time, his TD to interception ratio is it's got to be near 1-1. Like, he's been struggling, and in this game, it's like you're saying, he in the clutch situations, he threw an interception to Marquise Dexter on a drive that maybe could have sealed the deal for the Scorpions. And then that last pass, he had two chances deep in the Demons' end to end the game, and he had Jackie Wilson open. If he throws a better ball, the game's over, and Jackie Wilson is running. He's the hero.
Yeah.
But that last pass is inexcusable. There was no reason for him to throw that last pass.
Yeah, Jackie Wilson could have been the hero, and even that last play, like you said, he could have thrown it up to the right corner or even deep in the middle. I believe there was a deep middle post, but he went to the underneath guy, and it was actually the fullback. I think he threw it to number 39. So yeah, he just panicked. He should have held on to it, but the Demons move on, and it's the playoffs, and that's just it. So the Scorpions finish the season 7-5, and the Demons have an 8-4 record. And let's go take a look at this absolute classic, one of the most historic, if not the most historic matchup coming up, most anticipated matchup coming up in CSFL history is the Demons versus the Piranhas coming up next week. Both teams on a look at this 3-game winning streak from the Demons, 5-game winning streak from the Piranhas. First total offense, second total offense, fifth best defense, third best defense. The only big difference, well, that's not only, but the big difference is obviously the turnover differential. But man, if these Demons, man, playing against these Piranhas, this has got to be the most exciting, most anticipated game of the year. It's got to be.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's good. I think it's got the makings of a shootout for sure here, though.
For sure.
The top two offenses. These defenses are both pretty good. You got third and fifth, and we know that Piranha's secondary is full of ball hawks. The Demons are sneaky good at stuffing the run, despite that 10th overall. They let up some big plays in the run game, but they're pretty good at stuffing the run in the middle of the game.
Oh, man.
The Willie Burnside ran all over them last time they played. They played back in week 1. It was a while ago now that these two met, and the Piranhas, the Demons were with the Piranhas until late in the third quarter in that one, and then the Piranhas took it and ran away with it. We'll have to see how this one plays out, Johnny, because a team has to score. If we note a team has to score 50 points to beat the Piranhas, the Demons have never scored that much. Can they score that much? The top pass offense in the league, I think they should be able to, but can they do it against these Piranhas in that ball hawking secondary? They're going to have to play clean ball against them, and that is a tall order.
If the Demons were at home, I'd feel a lot better about it. Because their defense, like we talked about, plays so much better at home. But can the Demons score 50 points? That's the question, everyone at home that's listening. Do you think the Demons can score 50 points? Because I know the Piranhas can. And I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say the Demons can. Will they have to score 50 points to win this? I'm going to say they have to score 45. For sure.
Yeah, they got to score. I think they got to score 45. That's the 44 is the Piranha's magic number. I think they got to score 45 too. I agree. I think the Piranhas are the clear favorites going in. Demons have won their last 2 games on the road. They beat the Cobras on the road, and they beat the Scorpions on the road, 2 playoff teams, including a tough Scorpions team. That team's no joke, and
Yeah.
so the road isn't too intimidating for these demons anymore.
It's
But
just it's just these demons. They have to play perfect. And guess what? Eric Watson just did. Can Eric Watson have a Joe Montana slash? I know I hate to say Joe Flacco, but he did go 11-0. Can he have to Joe Flacco to Joe Montana playoff run here?
anything can happen, man. This one it's got excitement written all over it. I can't wait. I can't wait for this matchup. The
Wow.
I still, if I had to pick a team, I think I'm picking the Piranhas, but
Yeah.
I'm not writing my team off yet.
Honestly, they got the juice to do it, but these piranhas got the army to do it. The piranhas, there should be multiple fish up there in their logo because they got multiple stars. With Alonzo Graham, obviously, to Willie Burnside, to Neil Mitchell, to the list goes on with these guys. Joey Samuels, Courtney Mitchell, Chauncey Preston, Andre Watson. They got them all. They just do it well, and every phase they are the standard of the league. They are the best team in the league, but they have not won the championship game yet. Last season they lost in the semifinals, so I know that they want to win this, and means a lot to these piranhas. And they got that. They got to get the monkey off their back, so to speak, for sure. I can't talk enough about this game, but we got to move on because we still got two more games to cover. Let's move on to the next matchup, the next game of Saturday, and this couldn't have been a more shocking game. I don't want to say that the Rhinos didn't earn it because they definitely earned it, but that last play of the game, I have to talk about it. There was 6 seconds or 8 seconds left on the clock. They had no timeouts. They threw it to Jabari Griffin, the rookie receiver, and it looked like when he caught it that he hit the pylon. And I was thinking, how is that not a touchdown? But maybe the defender rolled out and the defender's leg hit it or something like that. But there was 8 seconds on the clock and they had no timeouts. And when they decided to run it with Mark Marshall, that was getting shut down all game. Like he had I can't remember what it was. It was like 6 yards or something.
Thick rushing yard. Thick.
And they still go to him. And they went to him, and I'm thinking in my head, like I was talking out loud because I was doing the live commentary live. But when I was watching it again, I'm like, man, if they got stopped there, there's no way. Do you think they could have ran to the line and spiked it or ran another play? I don't think so, man. They could have been devastated right there and lost it right there, but they didn't. Mark Marshall gets hit and pulls his guy into the end zone, and I don't even think he got to the green. He touched nothing but the white line. And they win the game by 1 point. Oh my God, the Bears must have been, or the Bears must have been heartbroken, and the Rhinos must have been running around, driving around in his car, honking to the neighbors. So yeah, Demons, give me your take on this game, and what do you think the storyline for this game was?
Well, the Rhinos decided to go with a complete change to playbooks, and they followed a little bit of the Demons and the Scorpions in this one. They went Jacksonville offense and Denver defense. They
Yeah.
they figured they're going to take the best of the Demons offense and the best of the Scorpions defense, and let's take their playbooks and see what we can do with it. Bears went West Coast and Pittsburgh, and I'm going to tell you, this decision for the Rhinos, it did not look like it paid off for most of this game. The Bears were all over them. They starting with a 42-yard Hilliard TD where he had great blocking at the line of scrimmage, and then the Bears get the ball back at another efficient drive, capped off to a 27-yard TD pass to Hilliard, and it's 14-0 at the end of the first quarter, and the Rhinos are reeling. Adkins was struggling. The Bears D was having a day. The offense was just moving through the Rhinos D like they weren't even there. The Rhinos start to show signs of life in the second quarter. They get a field goal, they force a punt, get another field goal, force another punt, and get another field goal. No touchdowns in there, and the Bears are sitting there thinking, well, we just punted twice, but our defense is keeping us in it. We still got the lead. And at 14-9 at halftime, the Bears had only allowed 4 rush yards in the first half.
Wow.
So if Marshall finishes with 6 total on the day, that means one of those yards was that touchdown at the end. He only had 1 yard through the entire second half. Other than that, this Bears rushing defense came to play. We knew that Bears rushing defense was one of the best in the league, if not the best. And they are a team that prides themselves on stopping the run, and they did that today against Mark Marshall, who is no joke of a running back. This guy has had some big plays and some big games in this league. But to start the second half, Bears get the ball, and Hilliard goes right back to work. He gets an 80-yard touchdown, 80-yard plus touchdown, nullified by a holding call. And we almost never see this in the CSFL. And there's a holding call. Bears are probably throwing their hands up like, what are these refs looking at? That actually ended up working out in the Bears' favor. They turned that into a 12-play, 75-yard touchdown drive where their fullback Styles caps it off with a 1-yard TD. Yeah. It took 3 minutes and 29 seconds off the clock, and the Bears are up 21-9. And you're feeling pretty good about that if you're the Bears. It's a 2-score game. Sure. Your D has been doing their job. Your offense has been doing great. They've scored 3 touchdowns on 5 possessions. Bears end up forcing another punt on the Rhinos' next possession and then scoring an 87-yard touchdown pass to Strickland. Strickland runs a 10-yard hook. Should have been tackled.
Oh, yeah.
Runs the wrong way, avoids 3 defenders, turns a 180, and runs untouched the end zone. And how he pulled this off, Johnny, I have no idea. He didn't care. It didn't matter. The Bears are up by 19, and they look like they're just going to cruise to victory in typical Bears fashion here. They had a great season, and this game was just a showcase of how good they were on offense and defense, how well balanced they were all around. There was no weak points on this team. The Rhinos didn't get a touchdown until there was 3:49 remaining. It was Adkins to Dorsey on the left side of the end zone. Then that drive included a 4th down gamble. They had to work for it. Bears punt, pin the Rhinos deep at their own 4-yard line. Adkins is nearly intercepted on 1st down, which would have been a pick 6. Jason Jones helps dig the Rhinos out of their own end. 28-yard catch with the defender all over them. The Rhinos drive. They get to the 2-minute warning. They're still driving. It's still 28-16. They're running out of time. Adkins then hits Dorsey on a 27-yard pass, the front left corner of the end zone. 152 remaining, and it's a 1-score game. And the Bears are shaking their heads wondering what's going on. Because Adkins, for the amount of points the Rhinos put up in the 4th quarter, he should have been intercepted a number of times. And if one of them was caught by these Bears defenders, this game's over. It's just one catch by a Bears defender. Because they were deflecting passes like crazy in this one. They were not allowing anything deep. Yeah. They were getting in the receiver's way. They were getting into the throwing lanes. But the Rhinos found a way to get it done. The Bears got the ball back, couldn't get a 1st down to seal the game with 1 minute, and they had to punt with 1 minute left. They pinned the Rhinos deep in their own end again, right at the shadow of their goalpost. But the Rhinos managed 2 big plays on their response drive, including that catch on the 1-yard line that you mentioned earlier to Jabari Griffith with 8 seconds left. Insane. And what they did after that, Johnny, well, we all remember the Seattle Seahawks and the New England Patriots. And everyone in the world said, just give the ball to Marshawn Lynch. And the Seahawks got fancy and threw the ball, got intercepted. I actually don't have a problem with the call. Mark Marshall is a premier running back. You're on the 1-yard line. Alonzo Adkins has been tempting this INT all through the 4th quarter.
Yeah.
Just punch it in, and they did. Good for them. Great comeback by the Rhinos. Great win. The Bears, on their end, I think like I said, they had to capitalize on one of their chances for an interception in the second half. They had more than one opportunity to win this game. The Rhinos needed this to go perfectly for them in the fourth quarter to win this game. They needed everything to go their way. One mistake and they lose. Whether that mistake is allowing a Bears first down or or allowing a turnover or not scoring a touchdown on a drive, they were on thin ice and they worked their way through it. They definitely earned their way in this fourth quarter because I can tell you for most of this game, it looked like the Bears were just going to run away with it. But
Wow.
the Rhinos showed some resiliency, got the win. Adkins ends the day 24 of 43, 395 yards, 3 touchdowns. Bill Morris didn't have to throw that much, 13 for 20, 246, and 2 touchdowns. Hilliard, great day, 107 yards, 1 running touchdown, 3 catches, 38 yards, and a receiving touchdown. But like I said, yeah, Mark Marshall, you expect him to have a good stat line. Held to 6 yards, but he got the 1 yard that counted. And that's really what the Rhinos are going to look at on that stat line is that 1 yard that he got that won the game for him. But Jason Jones was a standout for the Rhinos in this one. 8 catches for 186 yards. Great game by that receiver.
Yeah, wow, amazing, eh? The rookie Alonzo Atkins gets throws no interceptions, 3-0, 400 yards almost, no sacks allowed, clean jersey. Man, almost wins it with the throw to Jabari Griffith. Man, so proud of these Rhinos, but these Bears, man, they gotta be absolutely heartbroken. Shut down in the fourth quarter to 0 points, allowing 20 points into the fourth quarter, man. At home, the second seed, man. Do you think this is like a case of the Bears maybe overlooking the Rhinos?
Think so because you don't go up 28-9 and I'm going to say it, they dominated the first 3 quarters of this game.
Yeah.
You don't go into the game and play that well unless you're prepared, unless you're ready to go. And they did not overlook these Rhinos. I think they let off the gas obviously way too much in the fourth quarter. They tried to just run the clock out. They were allowing too many plays on defense. The clock never ran out. I mean, you're talking 6 seconds. I guess they almost did run it out. 6 seconds left in the game, but
Yeah, man.
they
This.
had their chances to win it. The Bears clearly lost this game in the fourth quarter more than anywhere, and they're going to look at this and think that they left the playoffs far too early. This was a season where they probably looked at it and thought they were making a championship run. They were the only team to beat the Piranhas this year.
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe they are out a little bit early, but the Rhinos are going to take advantage of that and run right into the semifinals.
And they are amazing. So excited about the Rhinos winning, and I'm just so heartbroken. It feels so terrible for the Bears, man. I know it meant a lot to the Bears, and I know he wanted to win it. But yeah, I think he made a overlook for the Rhinos, and the Rhinos wanted it more. They were just, they know their owner is gonna cut them and trade them if they don't come through. So they had to come through for this game, and so impressed with Alonzo Atkins. Honestly, the rookie quarterback really impressed me because I really thought, with the second turnover differential and how great that defense was, that they were gonna stop them with a rookie quarterback. But what I also didn't really keep in mind until I was watching the game is that he's also playing against rookie defenders, 2 safeties that are rookies as well in his rookie class. And he played in the Rookie Bowl last season and he dominated. Alonzo Atkins was the MVP of the Rookie Bowl last season. And he was playing against these safeties, so he knows these guys well, whether he was playing against them or they were on his team. They are in his draft class, so he knows those guys. And I never really thought of that until after the game. What a game, man. Super excited about that one. Let's go.
Safeties know him too, though, and like they were making their share of plays on defense. There was a lot of deflected balls deep
Yeah,
downfield.
they were especially early there. That one to Randy Dorsey.
Like on the first drive that the Rhinos had, right?
Yeah, that one, yeah, right in the beginning of the game, the first drive there. That was a deep throw. I was like, whoa, you're going deep. And then he knocked it out there. But that one hit, I have to bring it up before we move on. Now that you're talking about safeties, Dion Murphy, that one hit on William Hillard, where they thought it was a touchdown and they ruled it not a touchdown. Where Dion Murphy came in and put his put his elbow right into the chin of William Hillard. How was that? That had to be the biggest hit of the season. Like he smacked him so hard. Like that was absolutely devastating. Um, on the
Dion
play.
Murphy, yeah, great play by the Dion Murphy on that one, and he had himself a day too. He had 8 tackles on the day.
Yeah,
Dion Murphy was the standout defensive player in this one.
he was. And when they had to stop them when it was 28-23, and it was three. They made them 3 and out there when they couldn't get the first down. It was 2 tackles in a row by number 96 Vince Holt, and then the third down tackle was Dion Murphy. And so that was huge, man. Huge stuff. Super excited. Okay,
Clutch plays.
clutch plays. Okay, let's move on to the last matchup here. Spent some time on that game, but had to. It was too super exciting, obviously. The last matchup was the Wildcats versus the Demons, the two championship teams um, playing against each other. Wildcats were at home. They seemed to be really even for the most part in this game, in my opinion. But the difference was Grant Williams. The Wildcats benched Trevor Simpson, the rookie running back that they had starting all season. They started in week 1 and it was going good for them, so they kept him all season. And then in the playoffs, they bench him and put in the veteran running back, Grant Williams. And he honestly was the difference in this game, in my opinion, coming up with the game winner at the end there when it was 17-17. What a great call by the coaching staff. Coach Bell, the coach for the Wildcats, is doing a really good job there. Came up with a great game plan. The Dragons, though, I really thought they were gonna bring it more offensively, but they were only able to muster 17 points, and the Wildcats honestly they get away with a win here by only scoring 24 points. It's hard to win ball games by scoring 24 points in the CSFL. So the Dragons really couldn't bring it offensively. The Wildcats were able to shut them down, but the veteran quarterback for Brendan Platt wasn't able to really distribute the ball. And though RJ Barber, they had that experiment, they got RJ Barber out on the outside. It did work for the one play. I'm just not too sure if their 1 year pro Bryce Locker was up to the task against this extremely fast and extremely tall defensive line and defense of the Wildcats. Demons, love to hear your thoughts on this game, and what do you think the difference maker was? Do you think Grant Williams was that big of an X factor? Would you call him an X factor in this game?
I would say Grant Williams was the X factor player of this game.
Yeah.
He was the standout player on offense. Like really, if you look at the stat sheet, you could argue he was the only standout player on offense. The Wildcats defense was the difference maker in this one for me. I thought they played a phenomenal game.
Yeah.
The game was defined by long drives and short plays. Both teams just holding the other teams down, defenses not breaking, just and not allowing big plays. It was interesting to see the Wildcats playoff time hits. They're back to the Philly. They're back to Grant Williams. It's what worked for them last year. I like to see it. Let's try it again. Trevor Simpson is probably a little upset about being benched, but hey, Grant Williams won it for you last time, so let's get him back in there.
Absolutely.
Dragons stick with their tried and true run and gun and their 4-3 defense. It was, and you got to like this is a testament to the Wildcats defense in this one. The Dragons start with the ball and they end up going 3-and-out and losing yards on the drive. And that's how the Wildcats were playing in this one. They were making life tough for Brennan Platt and Bryce Locker. Wildcats go to work, 10-play, 50-yard drive, capped by a 1-yard touchdown reception by Quincy Drennan. This guy's been having a great year too, Drennan on the receiving end for the Wildcats. Dragons got some rhythm going on a 9-play, 45-yard field goal drive. But the Wildcats respond with the difference maker in this one because the offenses really only scored 17 each. Troy Jackson runs a 101-yard kick return TD to follow the Dragons' field goal drive.
Yeah.
And the Wildcats are up 14-3. Troy Jackson just blew through the special teams coverage on this one. Looked like just lightning running down the field. And the Wildcats defense were playing hard. They weren't giving the Dragons a lot of space. They ended up getting the ball back for their offense. Wildcats run another long drive, ended with a field goal. It looks like they're going to go into the half with a 17-3 lead with 53 seconds were remaining. The Wildcats were dominating time of possession all quarter, all half, but the Dragons finally broke that Wildcats defense right before the half. RJ Barber, like you were saying, ends up breaking free, gets a 50-yard catch,
Yeah.
beats the coverage, 17-10 at halftime. Dragons were lucky to be 17-10 at halftime in this one, in my opinion. They're one big play away from a two-score game going into the second half. Now, like that, they still had to make the big play. They earned it, but that big play came at the right time for them to actually gain some momentum and get back in this. Wildcats get the ball, start the second half, start driving, get down to the Dragons' 29-yard line when Jonas Hanks makes an interception for the Dragons, a big play when they needed it again. And that's what started that, and that's what was turning this game for the Dragons, was these big plays when they needed them. And then the Dragons turned that interception into 6 points 11 plays later. 65 yards, 5-yard TD by Bryce Locker. It is 17-all to start the fourth quarter. And it's anyone's game at that point. The Dragons' offense was outscoring the Wildcats' offense because, like I said, there was a kick return in there. And that fourth quarter, Grant Williams gets the ball, pulls off a ridiculous spin move on his way to a 64-yard TD run. He leaves the defender in the dust, spins right around him, ends up running the rest of the way, showing he's still got it. The KG veteran there, Grant Williams, even though Simpson's running the ball vast majority of the season for these Wildcats, Grant Williams has still got it, and he's still ready to play. This is a little bit of stalling in the fourth quarter. Dragons force a punt with 2:33 remaining the Dragons were forced to punt with 2:33 remaining, and this was a call that you questioned during the game. It was 4th and inches on the Dragons' on their own 40-yard line.
Yeah.
And you really could question that. They're down by 7. There's 2:33 left. They had all their timeouts, but you're going to lose a lot of clock.
Yeah.
It ended up working out for them. They did get the ball back with 48 seconds left and a timeout, and they were down by 7. They couldn't capitalize on it, unfortunately for them. Platt ended up throwing 4 straight incompletions, but it wasn't all on him. That Wildcats defense was not allowing any space for the receivers. There's nice coverage on 3 of the throws, and on one of the other throws, it was just huge pressure on the play. Platt had no chance. It was a rough day for the quarterbacks on the whole. Platt only threw for 146 yards. He was under 50%, 9 for 21. Ingram, 127 yards. This is a team with Troy Jackson on it. And
Yeah.
Ingram only throws for 127 yards. Troy Jackson, that should be Troy Jackson's stat line, not Ingram's. But yeah, Grant Williams, 131 yards, out yardaged his quarterback, ends up with a touchdown on the day. But you're saying Bryce Locker's day, 74 yards and a touchdown. It's not bad. It's not good enough in the playoffs. RJ Barber did lead all receivers in this game, though, Johnny. 89 yards and a TD on 4 catches. So the RJ Barber experiment at receiver, it's working out for these Dragons. He's making plays. He's been getting touchdowns all year over there. You're asking if Bryce Locker was up to the task in this one, though. I'm not so sure he was. I don't think RJ Barber had a bad day at receiver, but Bryce Locker, I think, needed to make a few more plays for those Dragons.
Absolutely. It's hard to, now that you look at it and you're looking at the Dragons season and you look at this game, it makes you think that more, is it the receivers that are lacking? And that, that the running back is able to do so good at receiver because the receiving core is that weak? Or is it that, RJ Barber is taking up the focus, and he's happy, and he's actually contributing? it's hard to tell if he's taking away from the other receivers or if he's contributing to a weak receiving core. Maybe the Dragons they can address that in this upcoming draft. Their receivers, but Barry Perkins and Des Edwards and all those guys they need to get that going because their offense is definitely fallen stale in the last few weeks. But speaking of the Dragons, look at that. They're 6-6, just like you thought they would be, an even 500 all season. So you could have predicted
They're all
that.
jokes, Scotty. That just ended up like that. That's coincidence. But hey, they're the only team that ended up 6-6, so I guess the jokes had merit.
They did though. They're literally the even middle of the pack for literally everything, and the Dragons are unable to capitalize and take advantage of the Wildcats' lack of offensive power. Like you said, Troy Jackson bringing one back, and they still only scored 24 points. So these Wildcats, I believe they were 1-3 or something like that in the last 4 weeks coming into this game. So they were 5-1, I believe, at one point in time in the season. So they definitely have not been playing well in the second half of the season offensively, but their 11th ranked defense really came through big for them. Not too sure if that was the Wildcats really doing really good or if that was the Dragons not able to get it going offensively.
Yeah, and I think the Dragon it's a little bit of both there. The Wildcats defense maybe punched above their weight a little bit in that one and stepped up when their team needed them, but the Dragons also were just not able to get into a rhythm for most of this one.
I agree. Now, the next matchup, one of these teams is going to the championship game to play either the Demons or the Piranhas for the Season 3 championship title match, and the Rhinos are going to the Wildcat Stadium. The Wildcats are 8-4, and the Rhinos are 5-7. They look to have very middle of the pack numbers on both sides, but their points per game, should I say, is above average. Also, the Wildcats' turnover differential is really high, top three, and the rushing offense for the Rhinos is top four. So I'm not too sure how this is gonna go. It seems that if this is gonna get into a defensive match, that it's gonna favor the Wildcats. And I believe if the Rhinos can turn this into a shootout, I think the Wildcats are in trouble. So this is the game that whoever wins gets a chance to go to the championship game and lose to the Piranhas. So I'm just kidding.
It's
So
off already. Okay. No,
I'm just joking.
no, it's
I
all
had
good, man.
I had to say
The
it. I had to say it.
yeah, yeah, it's probably going to be the case, but the the Wildcats. I'm not so sure I agree with the idea that they're going to lose it, that they're in trouble in a shootout. The Wildcats are comfortable in a shootout. Jeannie Ingram has Troy Jackson. I don't know if they go back to Trevor Simpson, but they did seem to play a little different with Williams than Simpson. It wasn't as wide open, but that could have been the Dragons' defense affecting their game plan. You know that with these Rhinos, they didn't get into a shootout against the Bears, but a lot of their games ended up being shootouts.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't be shocked to see this one turn into a shootout as well. The difference between this week's game for the Wildcats and last week's game is that the Rhinos D allows big plays. We saw it against the Bears. The Bears had a number of them, and the Wildcats are perfectly capable of taking advantage of that.
Yeah.
You got a 5-7 team, a team that's under 500, going against an 8-4 team. And yeah, the Wildcats may be struggling lately, but they still are the defending champs, and they still have a ton of playmakers on that team. I got to go with the home team in this one again. I think this is gearing up for a Wildcats Piranhas championship matchup, but we'll see how this one plays out. Again, they can't write those Rhinos off yet. They're flying high after that victory, and anything can happen now.
Last season, the Wildcats finished at the third seed as well. This is the second year in a row they finished at the third seed. And last season, the Werewolves matched up against the second seed Vipers and beat them and upset the second seed Vipers. So the Wildcats had to play an under 500 team in the Werewolves in the semifinal round last season, and it happens again. The the second seed gets upset for the second straight year in a row, and now the Wildcats get another team in the semifinals that are under 500, and the Wildcats clearly seem to have the easier road, so to speak, because they're not on the Piranha side. And the Demons and Scorpions and Cobras. That's definitely way. It's almost like the NFC and AFC over here, and the Demons and Piranhas are. That could be the championship game there. That might even be a better game than the championship game. We'll see. It's going to be hard to top these matchups that we had recently. But man, these Wildcats and Rhinos going against each other, and we got the Demons versus the Piranhas. And I couldn't be more excited about who wins these games and moves on to the championship game. Demons, any final words before we end the recap?
Looking forward to semifinal weekend, Johnny. Can't wait.
Oh, buddy, it's going to be good. Thanks again for making the time.
Anytime, man.